Welcome back to Open Line tonight. We are talking about the rise in domestic violence during this coronavirus pandemic. We have Sharon Roberson joining us from the YWCA of Middle Tennessee in Nashville. She's the president there. Sharon, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, this is Open Line. People are welcome to call and share their experiences if they have been there to the Weaver Center, or if they have questions on how to get someone help who they suspect is a victim of domestic violence, or even themselves. But I realize that may be hard to call in about. We are streaming this live on Facebook, and two things have popped up. First, the question is, how do I reach out? So I'm sure you have a number they can text or call. And the second question is about laws, and that laws need to be tougher. So I wonder what avenue you all kind of deal with that in when it comes to lobbying for tougher laws and stricter enforcement maybe. But let's start with, how do people reach out and actually get to the Weaver Center?
The easiest thing to do is dial 1-800-334-4628. 1-800-334-4628.
Okay.
Or if you rather to text 615-983-5170. If you want to see all about the YWCA, you can go to our website. Now, make sure that you understand that computers can be monitored, and you can also look at the history of what you've looked at. So make sure you're in a safe space when you do research this. But that's www.ywcanashville.com. And if you are in immediate danger, make sure you dial 911. You need to get a police officer there if you are in physical danger. And they can also help facilitate you coming into the Weaver Center. I will say this, legislatively, we do all that we can to make sure we protect the rights of domestic violence victims. We work very closely with the Family Safety Center. It's a wonderful facility that does all work for people who are victims of violence in general. And they also, of course, work with victims of domestic violence, getting their orders of protection and working with them and their children. And it's a government-run facility.
Fantastic. I want to talk to you now about prevention programs. We have talked about some of the services you all provide when people have needed to reach out and get help and escape a violent situation. What about preventing this from happening?
Well, a couple of things is, we know at the heart of domestic violence is the power and control cycle. And a lot of things are really swept up into how our society has often looked at women and the roles of men and women. We have two programs that are really geared toward the younger people in our community. One of them is our Girls Inc. We are a Girls Inc. affiliate, that is. And as a Girls Inc. affiliate, our goal is to help young girls understand that they can be strong, smart, and bold, and that they can be independent and have a value. After working with young women for years and also being in the domestic violence space, a few years ago, the YWCA took the bold step of starting a program which is called Amend Together, A-M-E-N-D, Together. And it is run by a former professional athlete, Vanderbilt star Shane Foster. And this program is designed to help young boys who are in middle school and high school. We have 22 clubs in the Nashville school system to help them understand healthy masculinity and how domestic violence is not really a path they need to take. We also do corporate trainings. We train athletes, all the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Titans rookies, at Vanderbilt Medical Center. We go out into the community because this is part of our mission, because when these young boys are in our society, it's very important that they have the good men in our society to be there saying, yes, we agree with you, and lifting up and carrying out this message. So it's a very grassroots community-based effort. And if anyone wants any information about either one of these programs, please do not hesitate to contact the YW. We'll get you to the right person.
And Sharon, you said earlier, and I think I'm so glad you did, that abuse is not just physical. It certainly can be and is, but it's verbal. It can be financial. I think it's also worth pointing out that abuse spans every race, every economic standing, age-wise. I'm sure you see all kinds of faces and all kinds of wealth walking through your doors.
Oh, yes. And I've always saluted those that tell their stories, who are very prominent women. And I think that's a lot of the support of the YW, because there are very abusive relationships, because it has nothing to do with your education or your income. It's everything to do once you get into that power and control dynamic. And I've always said that women would not stay with the man who they met on day one who mistreated them. This happens over time, and over time the relationship can turn, and then next thing you know, you're in domestic violence circumstance. And that's why it's very important for everyone to educate themselves. If a family member, and this is one thing that is unique to COVID-19, part of domestic violence is isolation in many cases. And you're often isolated from those people who might help you in that circumstance. COVID-19 gives the abuser the license to isolate you from your friends and family. So I would encourage you, because whether or not people acknowledge it, many people in the community, especially in church families, know of a situation that's not quite right. So make sure, even if you cannot physically go and visit someone, please check on them, because you may be a lifeline to them for a person that you can't see at church, you can't see at work, you don't see them picking up the children at school, but you know there's an issue there, and say, I'm just calling to check on you. So make sure you stay close to those who you know may need that extra support.
Besides calling to check on someone, if you know there is a problem or you really have some high suspicion, what are the things that you can do? I know, just for instance, you know, when talking to people who are in suicide prevention, they say it's okay to say, are you considering suicide? Like, don't let it just be the elephant in the room. Bring it up. Ask pointed questions. Is that the case when you're dealing with domestic violence?
It's a little bit different in the sense that it's best to not be there in that judgmental role. And not that that's judgmental for suicide victims, it's just is a different thing. What you do is make sure they understand that you are a friend, you are a voice there, you are a person that can talk to them and say, I'm going to be here for you. If you need any help, let me know. You can call the crisis line, just as a friend, and say, this is what's happening with someone I know. What would you advise me to do? And give the very particular situation that you're working with. And then from there, you can move forward to be able to help your friend. You really have to make sure you are educated, so you are not judgmental and say, why would they stay? Because on the average, it takes 7 times before a person leaves a domestic violence relationship. And this is because it's very complex, especially when there are children involved. And so to be supportive means the world, because on time number 7, when they leave, that's often the time where they save their lives.
I know that you all offer so many services. Those services are not cheap to you all providing them. How are you all surviving financially right now?
Well, the YW, of course, every year we have to raise about $6 million to operate our full programs, which is very daunting. We've been very fortunate this year in that we have had resources that we've been able to get from our governmental partners who have worked lockstep with us, because we needed to keep Weaver open. And without those additional monies, we had to have a virtual spring breakfast, which was a huge fundraiser for us to raise money. We are concerned going into the future about whether or not the resources will dry up with everything that's changing so in the community. I will say this, is that we are dedicated and we will keep the Weaver Center open. And with that goal in mind, We are very fortunate in the Nashville community that we have very strong philanthropic people, and I really feel very confident that we will get the resources we need to keep this vital, essential service open in our community.
I don't have to tell you, Nashville's finances are in a bad way right now. Do you know, have you gotten a peek at the budget and seen what changes are in store just coming from Nashville's government?
We do know that Nashville's government has had to cut back substantially. For a few years, we have been a line item in the metro budget, but we are no longer a line item. With that said, we've been in contact with our metro officials, and they are looking at any resources they have, including resources from the federal government as related to COVID-19. In order to make sure that we get the funding that we need. They're very aware, very passionate as we are about the Weaver Center, and they're working with us. So we are very hopeful that we'll receive the additional monies we need, because frankly, without the Weaver Center, these women and children would have nowhere to go.
Oh, it'd be so scary.
What they have to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have to take another quick break. When we come back, more questions about domestic violence and the increase of it because of the coronavirus. Stay with us.